bim, 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 bam. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom. Welcome. Bim bam, bim 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 bam, bim 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 bam. If you're in the sanctuary, sing with us here. Bam, bim 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 bam, bim 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 bam. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Hine ma tov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Well, Shabbat shalom, everybody. We'll go in now to the sanctuary and greet our other friends there. I would invite us all to sit in the front half of the rows if you're comfortable doing so we feel more together tonight. Hine ma tov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov, hine ma tov, yadadai, yadadadadadadai. Hine ma tov, hine ma tov, yadadai, yadadadadadadai. Page 128. Ma tov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov, hine ma tov, yadadai, yadadadadadai. Hine ma tov, hine ma tov, yadadai, yadadadadadai. Sabrina, could I get one of those from you by chance? I must have misplaced mine. And thank you, Sabrina, for being here to greet us and help us get settled. Good evening and Shabbat Shalom to those coming in, to those who are joining us remotely, to the Leibowitz family and little baby Lucy, who we will name you, I promise. If you're watching us from your home, we will give you your name soon. And sorry not to see you tonight. We're glad you're staying safe and healthy in your space. And I pray that we all will be safe and healthy in this cold and flu season as it winds down. We begin every service here at Temple Beth Tikvah praying for the hostages among our people, those who are still in captivity. Gratefully, that number is smaller tonight. But I do invite you, if you received one of the slips of paper with the names of hostages, this small slip of paper from me, to please rise at this time. And if everyone else can find your prayer sheet, we will offer this blessing after we hear the name of those who still remain in captivity. Friends, please do share their names at this time.
Shiri Bat Margit, Shlomo ben Marcel, Surasak Lamnu, Tal ben Nitza, Tamir ben Cherub, Sachi ben Devora, Yair ben Ruth Idit, Yarden ben Penina, Yosef ben Chaim ben Miriam, Wachara Sriyuan, Ziv ben Talia.
Thank you. Please, everyone, rise if you're comfortable doing so as we offer this prayer for those in captivity. You can join in either Hebrew or English. Achenu v'achiotenu kol beit Yisrael, hanatunim b'tzara uv'shivya, ha'omdim bein bayam uvein bayabasha. Hamakom yirachem alehem, v'yotzi'em mitzara l'ravacha, u'me'afela le'ora, u'me'shi'abud le'ge'ula. Hashta ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru. Amen. Our brothers and sisters, the whole house of Israel, who are in distress and captivity, who wander over sea and over land, may God have mercy on them and bring them from distress to comfort, from darkness to light, from slavery to redemption, now, swiftly, and soon, as together we say, Amen. Please have a seat, everyone, and we can take this moment to greet someone maybe we haven't yet said Shabbat Shalom to, somebody sitting nearby or somebody sitting far away. As Ron and Shelley are coming up, I did also want to share happier names. These are the names of the hostages who have been released in the last couple of weeks. And I would love to share something about all of their lives as well, but because we don't have time to do that, maybe I will just choose one of them. So the following have been released since the ceasefire began, and have been reunited with their families. Arbel Yehud, age 29, from Kibbutz Nir Oz. Agam Berger, age 20, from Cholon. Gadi Moses, age 80, from Kibbutz Nir Oz. Daniela Gilboa, age 20, from Kibbutz Nachal Oz. Liri Albag, age 19. Naama Levi, age 20. Karina Ariev, age 20. And of course, the first three who were released a couple of weeks ago, Roni Gonen, age 24, Emily Damari, age 28, and Doron Stein Brecher, age 31. I also heard that one of the hostages set to be released tomorrow is Keith Siegel, who I believe has a connection to somebody in our congregation. Is that you and Sally, John? You actually personally know Keith and his wife? Wow. So as we light these Shabbat candles, may our hearts be filled with that intention for light to enter the world as he is brought back in good health and reunited with his family. Yes, thank you. In addition to those whom I've named, there were 4 Thai nationals who were released this week as well. I'll just give you a little snapshot from one of these. Agam Berger, age 20, from Cholon, where she lives with her twin sister and 2 younger brothers. She is an accomplished violinist who dedicates her time to volunteering with at-risk youth. Agam had arrived at the Nachal Oz base just 2 days before October 7th as an observer, and she was taken captive along with her fellow observers, Liri Albag, Karina Ariev, Daniela Gilboa, and Naama Levi, all of whom have since been released. So there are some things in this horror of a couple of years that we can be grateful for at this time. So as we light these candles, we think of all those who have been released. We pray that all of those who have not will soon be released. And we pray that healing and reconciliation may soon begin as we honor the special light of a new life as your grandson has come into the world. So please, page 128, or sorry, 120 is the candle blessing, page 120. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu להדליק של Shabbat Shalom, Ron and Shelley. Good Shabbos, good Shabbos. We're on page 130, friends, as we begin Kabbalat Shabbat. These ancient psalms and poems which direct our hearts to holiness and rest and a taste of the world to come, as the rabbis called it. Just try ooh. L'Adonai nariya, letzor yeshenu, letzor yeshenu, lechu neranena. L'Adonai nariya, letzor yeshenu, letzor yeshenu, nekadma fanav, betoda, vizmirot nariya lo. Kadma fana betoda vizmiro nariyalo. Don't be so shy on those responses. Chuneranena ladonai nariya letzor ishenu letzor. The psalm means let's sing it out in joy. Neranena ladonai nariya letzor ishenu. Letzor yeshenu, nekadma fanav, betoda, bizmiro nariyalo. Nekadma fanav, betoda, bizmiro nariyalo. Ooh. Page 131. Sing unto God a new song. Shiru ladonai, shir chadash. It's actually an inversion of the first two lines, so it keeps you on your toes. A little brain workout. You'll get it. Shiru ladonai, kol haaretz. Shiru ladonai, shir chadash. Let's try that together. Shiru ladonai, kol haaretz. Shiru shir chadash. Shiru ladonai, shir chadash. Sounds great. Sing unto God, all the earth, a new song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God, and we'll all sing along. All the earth a new song unto God. Shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz. Shiru l'Adonai shir chadash. Sing unto God, all the earth, a new song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God, and we'll all sing along. All the earth, a new song unto God. Everybody, Shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz. Shiru l'Adonai shir chadash. I will sing unto God a new song. Page 134. Entering into Kabbalat Shabbat. This song asks for every instrument and intention of the voice. The rivers are clapping, the mountains are skipping. The joy that we look to experience in our lives that we don't always feel, the Psalms are drawing us in. So there's lots of reasons not to have joy. Here is a good reason to. Zameru Adonai bechinor, bechinor v'kol zimra, b'chatzotzrot v'kol shofar. Hariu lifnei hamelech Adonai, yiram hayam umlao, tevel v'yoshveva. Ne'arot imcha uchaf yachad harim yiranenu lifnei Adonai kiva lishpot haaretz yishpot tevel v'tzedek ve'amim b'mei sharim yiram hayam umlo tevel v'yoshveva ne'arot yimcha uchaf yachad harim yiranenu. Page 138, Lecha Dodi. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekavela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekavela. Shamor v'zachor v'dibur echad hishmianu el ha'meyuchad Adonai echad u'shemo echad l'shem ultiferet le'elitila lecha dodi likrat gala b'nei Shabbat nekabela Dodi likrat gala b'nei Shabbat nekavela likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelecha ki mekor haberacha merosh mikedem nesucha sof ma'aseh v'machshavat tchila lecha lecha dodi likrat gala, b'nei Shabbat ne'kabela. Everybody, lecha dodi likrat gala, b'nei Shabbat ne'kabela. Verse 5. Hitoreri, hitoreri, kiva orech kumiuri, uri uri shir daberi. Kvod Adonai alayich nigla, lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat ne'kabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat ne'kabela. If it's comfortable for you, please rise as we welcome Shabbat into our midst. We face the entrance, and we feel that special joy entering this space as we see a glimpse of eternity. Boi v'shalom, ateret ba'ala, gam b'simcha u'v'tzola, toch emunei am skula. Boi chala, lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat ne'kabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat ne'kabela. Lecha likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat ne'kabela. Alecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat ne'kabela. Alecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat ne'kabela. Is that the joyful beloved one of Shabbat entering into the sanctuary for Lecha Dodi? Love that. We can have a seat, friends. 142. Shalom Aleichem Malachei Asharet Malachei Elyon Mi Melech Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Boachem L'Shalom Malachei Ashalom Malachei Elyon Mi Melech Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Baruchuni L'Shalom Malachei Ashalom Malachei Elyon Mi Melech Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Tzedchem L'Shalom Malachei Ashalom Malachei Elyon Mi we enter now into our Aravit service. But before we do that, I wanted to share something with you. Some of you might know that our 9th graders will not be in religious school this Sunday. And the reason that they will not be in religious school this Sunday is a very good one. Usually I'm not that happy if they're not in religious school, but I'm actually very happy this Sunday. Why? Because they are in, as we speak right now, in Washington, D.C., with the Religious Action Center of Reformed Judaism, where they are meeting with teens from across the entire country, as well as the young staff of the RAC, which I know is confusing from TBT, because we have a RAC here at TBT too, different RAC, different abbreviation. And while they're there in Washington, they have the opportunity to learn about some of the most pressing issues facing this country, issues of conscience, issues on things such as immigration, education, gun control, mental health reform and services, all kinds of things that really impact people's lives in this country. And they learn about their issues very deeply. They have an opportunity to study Jewish texts that inform their positions on how they should be thinking about some of these issues. And then they have an opportunity to go to Capitol Hill and go to the offices of the US Congress to meet with our elected officials. Oftentimes they're staff members, but sometimes, yes, we get a special visit with for instance, Congresswoman DeLauro or Senator Blumenthal or Murphy. It does happen from time to time. And they have an opportunity to speak about these issues in a prepared speech where they discuss matters of conscience, matters of justice, matters of real active legislation that they feel they should speak on behalf of their Jewish identities. And that is a very cool thing to be able to do. Nobody tells them how to think, but everybody gives them some guidance to be able to express themselves to their elected officials. And I love this program so much for so many reasons, but one of the reasons is because it really helps them understand how to be active participants in the democratic process. And that is something our country needs so, so, so deeply. Oftentimes you have people turn out to vote and then they don't do much else between elections. And hey, I'm as guilty of it as anyone. We are busy, life goes on, we have other things to attend to. But our 9th graders this weekend are examples for all of us about what it means to be engaged in our civic society, to fulfill our obligations of being educated and aware and articulate and active in our democratic principles. So in honor of that, I wrote them a little bissel of a Devar Torah. It's not really a Devar Torah, it's more like a nugget, a Torah nugget. So with your permission, I'm going to share with you what I shared with them. Here's what I wrote to them that hopefully Ira shared with them just a few minutes ago as they're preparing for their own Kabbalat Shabbat service. Hi, TBT 9th graders. By now, you are either on your way to Washington, D.C., or you arrived in our nation's capital. You are in for an incredible weekend. You will learn about critical justice issues in our country. Like the ancient prophets, you will raise your voices to advocate for what is right. You will participate in our democracy. In this week's Torah portion, Parashat Bo, Moses and Aaron too advocate. They continue to advocate for our ancestors' freedom by going to Pharaoh and saying, "Let my people go." You all know that from religious school. So the Torah portion called Bo means come to Pharaoh. They are commanded, Bo el Paro, come to Pharaoh. The question for the commentators, of course, is why would God tell them to come to Pharaoh instead of going to Pharaoh, as you would expect? There are many different thoughts on this. One from the great Hasidic teacher, Rabbi Menachem Mendel of Kotsk, the Kotzker Rebbe, teaches the following. He says, the reason for this usage is because one cannot go from God. One cannot move away from God, for God is everywhere. Therefore, God told Moses, come with me, for I will be with you wherever you are. And again, this is me writing to them, although it applies to you too. like Moses, all of you are speaking truth to people in power. And no matter who is in power, this is not the easiest thing to do. Remember this weekend and carry with you throughout all stages of your lives that when you speak up for those in need, God will be with you. When you speak up for justice to prevail, God is with you. Let your conscience guide you. Our community is behind you. All of us at TBT are so proud of you. Have an incredible time. Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi Moss. And in case you couldn't tell, I'm pretty jealous that I don't get to be there with them, because it really is one of the great trips that Jewish kids get to do. Have any of you ever been on that trip? Been a chaperone or participant on that trip? Well, we're always looking for chaperones for these things, so keep it in mind. And some of you will be there one day. That's right. That's right. Yes. And some of you will be going to New York City with me in confirmation class. So, yeah, we're going to be traveling a lot more. We love travel education. So with that urgency for justice and the power of speaking when sometimes we feel very small, we enter into the spiritual moment of feeling the smallness of ourselves and the elation of the spiritual experience we search for relative to God. I invite you to please rise if you're comfortable doing so. We turn to page 146. Page 146. Baruch hu et Adonai hamevorach. Baruch Adonai hamevorach leolam va'ed. Page 148. We'll read together the blessing for the evening. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tsevaot is your name. Ever living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Ma'avir yom u'me'evi layla, mavdil ben yom u'ben layla, Adonai tzevaot shemo, el chai v'kayam tamidim lo chaleinu le'olam va'ed. Baruch ata Adonai hamari v'aravim. Page 150. Ahavat olam beit Yisrael amchavta Torah u'mitzvot chukim u'mishpatim otanu limadeta Al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shochbeinu v'kumeinu nasiach bechukecha ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ואורך ימינו, ובהם נהגה יומם ולילה, יומם ולילה. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד, ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד. Please be seated. Page 154. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. Top of page 157. Let's read this together as we direct our hearts toward the theme of freedom and redemption. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. Page 158, a freedom song. We're back to E minor. Let's try this, just the melody. מי כמוך בעלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, אוסף אלה. מלכותך ראו בניך, קיים לפני משה, מלכותך ראו בניך, קיים לפני מרים. זה לי ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם לעולם ועד. ידה די 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 ידה די 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 ידה די 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 ידה די די ידה די ידה די ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. Page 161. If you've read your shofar already, then, well, you get extra credit. But you also saw the news that we have a special guest coming next month. For our Salidker weekend, we're welcoming Noah Aronson, a wonderful modern composer of Jewish music, terrific song leader. And we're all going to like singing with him so much. So I'm teaching a couple of his tunes lately. Here's one we've been working on. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let's all try singing that together. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Ashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Ashkivenu, Le'shalom. Let there be love. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from. Good. Keep singing that. Let there be love. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu. You're doing it. Hashkivenu, Le'shalom. Here's the bridge. Ve'hamidenu, Shomreinu Lechayim, Ufros Aleinu, Sukat Shlomecha. Ashkivenu, Ashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Your voices are beautiful. Ashkivenu, Le'shalom. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from. Sing it like you mean it, because we need it. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Baruch atah Adonai, apores sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. My teacher, Rabbi Arnold Jacob Wolf from Chicago, the South Side, used to teach this. This is called Judaism Street. He says, I try to walk the road of Judaism. Embedded in that road, there are many jewels. One is marked Shabbat, and another marked civil rights. One marked kashrut, and one marked honor your parents. One marked you shall be holy. There are at least 613 of them, and they are all different sizes and shapes and weights. Some are light and very easy for me to pick up. Some are too deeply embedded for me, so far at least, although I get a little stronger every time by trying to extricate the jewels as I walk down the street. Some, perhaps, I shall never be able to pick up. I believe that God expects me to keep on walking Judaism Street, to carry away whatever I can of its commandments. I do not believe that God expects me to lift what I cannot, nor may I condemn my fellow Jew, who may not be able to pick up even as much as I can. We're all journeyers down Judaism Street, all of us together, supporting one another, picking up what we can. Sometimes something is too heavy, and another time we know, if we're really honest with ourselves, that we should get into the Judaism gym and work out a little more. so we can pick that up, right? I think I had worked out 3 times this week, which is the most I've worked out since Levi was born. So maybe that's why this metaphor is really sinking in. No pun intended. Friends, we turn in our hearts and our prayer book to the words of the Amidah on page 164. Please rise. Adonai, sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chastei Avot v'Imahot, Umevig geula livnei vneihem lema'an shemo be'ahava melech ozer umoshia umagin Baruch atah Adonai magin Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah atah gibor le'olam Adonai mechayei hakol atah rav lehoshia mashiv haruach Umorid hagashem, mechalkel chaim bechesed, mechayei hakol berachamim rabim, tzomech noflim verofei cholim, umatir asurim, umekayem emunato lishenei afar, michamocha baal givurot, Umido melach, melech memit, umechaye, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman atah lahachayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, mechaye hakol. Atah kadosh, v'shimcha kadosh, u'kedoshim b'chol yom yihallelu chasela. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. We take a moment now for tefillah balachash, or silent prayer. Follow the words in the book if they are helpful to you through to page 180, or simply close your eyes and take a moment to say the prayer you need to say. But please, take this moment for prayer. ratzon, imrei fi, vehegyon libi, lefanecha. Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri, vegoali, yihiu leratzon, imrei fi, vehegyon libi lefanecha. Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri, vegoali, vegoali. Creator, I have been in such dark places, a flashlight felt useless. I have felt fear, no words could comfort me. I seemed lost. And yet, through your compassion, through your loving kindness, I am here now. Blessed are you, the guardian of all, who carries me to a safe place. Community, friends, is like a light in the dark. We all go through times, we all encounter the dark. At this time, we think of all those who are in need of healing, who might appreciate a little brightness and light to help lighten things up. We think of Mark and Ellen Warner, David Sokoloff, Wendy Lee, Bruce Petroff, Paul Frisman, Kenneth Schachter, Vivian Liu, Henry Nelijan, Mark Lynette, Phoebe Apgar, Deanna Garabo Rosenberg, Harris Sokoloff, Steve Asnis, Hardy Schreiber, Stuart Katz, Mark Ostreicher, Bart Young, Sidney Scher, Matthew Pincus, Max White, Jodelle Young, Beth Zagoria, Barry Small, Ze'ev Ben Bluma, Tom Solik, Emily Belgard, Jane Lesser, Al Masori, Carol Robb, Pat Masori, Douglas Levin, Greg Imler, John Van Steenbergen, Nomi Burstein, Matty Brahen, Juanita McCarthy, Barbara William, Ben Peck, Sharon Peck, Georgina Peck, Martha and Mark Potter, Marion Macon, Alex Deutsch, Michael Love, Mary Gregory, Randy Redkin. There are others for whom you're praying and you'd like to share their name with our community. I invite you to do so at this time. For Misha Berach, prayers, friends. Denise O'Rourke and her family. I'm also holding in my heart just the families of all of those who perished so tragically in that terrible plane crash that I know has been all over the news and in our hearts. I invite us all to pick up our prayer sheet as we offer this ancient prayer, Misha Berach, for those who are in need of healing. Sheberach Avoteinu Avraham, Yitzchak veYaakov. Sheberach Imoteinu Sarah, Rivka, Leah, V'rachel. May the one who blessed our mothers, may the one who blessed our fathers, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well. Bless us with the power of your healing. Bless us with the power of your hope. May our hearts be filled with understanding and strengthened by the power of your love. Sheberach Avoteinu, Avraham, Yitzchak, veYaakov. Mi sheberach Imoteinu, Sarah, Rivka, Leah, veRachel. May the one who blessed our our fathers, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well. We have a guest, a darshanit this evening, a guest speaker, who is somebody you've seen speak before because she actually also spoke at the High Holidays. Karen Rabinovich is here back from Israel, and she's going to share a few words about her experience there. So Karen, feel free. Hey, come here. This is turned up, but you're going to speak into it, okay? No sun this time to get in there.
Right, thank you. So I'm Karen Rabinovich. Shabbat Shalom to everybody. Like the rabbi said, I have become a bit of a familiar face, and actually just in the last few weeks, two people from the congregation who I didn't know before went up to me and said, "You're the Israel person." So I guess that's who I've become at the synagogue, which is something I'm very proud of, actually. And I guess I am the Israel person because I was just there in December, and I'm here tonight to share about my experiences with you. Thank you, Rabbi Moss, for giving me the opportunity to speak. So I was sent to Israel on a volunteer mission with my work. I work for Jewish National Fund, and all of our trips to Israel have been volunteer missions, which means that people from North America, the US and Canada, go to Israel and really do manual labor and volunteer where Israelis need it most. I was able to tack on a few days to the beginning of my trip to see family and friends, so altogether it was a lot of different experiences crammed into one, and it was a very poignant time. I'm still processing it, and that's why I wanted to be here tonight and share it with you. So as I've talked about before, Israel has always been a huge part of my life. My whole life, I've seen the contrast in my experiences from my many visits to Israel and living there versus the narrative of Israel here and what people here know about Israel. Chaviv Retiger, our scholar in residence, was just here in December, and I know a lot of you were present. Rabbi Moss summarized a few of his key takeaways in one of the shofars, one of which was that Israeli Jews don't know much about diaspora Jews, and American Jews don't know much about Israelis. I'm going to talk about that second piece, about American Jews not knowing much about Israelis. Simply put, Israel is a country you have to feel. To gain even the slightest understanding of Israel and its people, especially during this current war, visiting Israel is essential. The suffering Israelis face today, and this is not found in the media, is far more pervasive than you would know if you didn't visit. Only by being there can one begin to grasp the weight of the collective trauma and the strength of a people forced into war. Let me make it clear, Israelis are not a people to be pitied, and they are not looking for pity. But in the position I'm in as an American Israeli living in America, I feel it's important to share their truth, which remains a story untold, and I hope to share just a small slice of that story tonight. I'll start with arriving at JFK, where a huge military vehicle was parked in front of the El Al drop-off. I felt safe seeing it, but I also felt so angry that we needed it. None of the other counters needed it. Going through security, I was questioned by a young Israeli woman whose rigorous questions made me feel like perhaps I did indeed pack something illicit, and that's when I felt, I'm going to Israel. I'm going home. I had forgotten what being on a full El Al flight with a few hundred Israelis was like. It was very loud, but the flight was fantastic. For those who have been to Ben Gurion Airport, you may remember a long sloped hallway that you have to walk through for both leaving and arriving. You may have seen videos and photos of that hallway, which today is lined with photos and mementos for every single hostage. And this was in December before the current releases we are seeing. Even though I knew to expect this, nothing could prepare me for seeing the display in person. It was a harsh reminder that these are real people with families and loved ones. They're not just photos and names and statistics. The Beavis boys had teddy bears and toys at their display. Hostage displays like this are all over Israel, in cities, in rural areas, on roads, outside, inside, everywhere. And I took great comfort knowing that I was in the one country in the world where these hostage displays wouldn't be torn down, wouldn't be vandalized, and that I wasn't the only one wearing this hostage dog tag and my yellow hostage ribbon. Everyone was wearing these things. In Israel, I'm not afraid, even though there's a war. I'm not afraid of being targeted for wearing my Magen David. Jewish businesses won't get destroyed, and Jewish cemeteries won't be desecrated, like the one where my great-grandmother is buried, which was desecrated in Vienna right after October 7. Upon arrival, I immediately got breakfast with my friend Roz, who is from Kiryat Shmona, which is Israel's northernmost city, right on the Lebanon border. Roz has been evacuated from his home since October 7. As he puts it, he's had a lifelong love affair with Hezbollah, and his entire life has been punctuated with rockets, terror attacks, and war. His cousin was murdered on October 7, and his cousin's funeral was actually hit by a rocket, specifically targeted by Hezbollah. Raz has such severe PTSD that he couldn't finish a speaking tour he was doing in the US earlier this month, and he can't be away from his father for long. He's a big, strapping guy. He's young, he's smart, he's handsome, he's charismatic, and you would never know that he was suffering. This was the first time I've ever experienced firsthand this kind of mental health crisis, which millions in Israel are suffering from. Raz's father, whose home has been destroyed on 3 separate occasions by Hezbollah, wants to leave Israel. And Raz, who can't be without him, now has a crisis because he doesn't want to leave. And I don't know what's going to happen. I also saw my friend Gal, who is in her mid-40s. She has 4 kids, ages 7 to 17. She's also from the north, and she's been evacuated since October 7. Her husband is in the Northern Command, and he's been away almost every day since October 7. She talked about the strain this causes. Her kids aren't used to their dad being around, and neither is she. When he comes for short visits, he has to find his way back into his family, and they have to find ways to let him in. When he comes for short visits, she is used to doing everything on her own, and she has to figure out how to share the burden again, just for him to go away again. Simultaneously, his family cannot relate to what he's been going through, literally fighting a war. Gal told me about the many divorces her friends are going through and the many ways in which millions of Israeli families are suffering, skyrocketing rates of drug abuse, alcohol abuse, and domestic violence. In the evening, I had Shabbat dinner with my aunt and 3 cousins in Tel Aviv, and their kids ranging in age from 8 months to 14 years. We talked about everything, and I heard different perspectives from everyone. It was unbelievable to hear the older kids talk so casually about the rocket attacks and sirens they've endured. They've been forced to normalize something that is not normal. That night, rather staying with family, I stayed in a hotel because I wanted to get the best sleep possible for when the work portion of my trip started, and I knew that wouldn't happen if I stayed with my cousins and all of their kids. The Houthis had different plans for me, and at 3:45 a.m. I experienced a Tseva Adom, a red alert, for a rocket sent to Tel Aviv, which is where I was, from Yemen. I was deep asleep, and at first I thought the siren was in my dream. When I realized what it was, I threw my shoes and coat on, which I had ready by the door, and I ran into the reinforced stairwell, which is where you go if there is no bomb shelter. I waited there with other scared tourists for the requisite 10 minutes. We found out later a nearby playground had been hit and destroyed. All my family, who I had just had dinner with, texted to check in on me, while they were going through the same thing with all of their kids. My heart was pounding out of my chest. I cannot describe to you how afraid I was. I've never had this experience in my whole life. My aunt actually told me that just a few weeks prior, they had to run to the shelter with her 99-year-old mother. This is what Israeli people, families, kids, elderly, have been going through night after night after night. My cousin and my friends told me about some of the effects on their children. Kids who have long been potty trained, wetting the bed every night. Kids being unable to sleep without their parents. Obsession with death, and instead of playing house, kids play get to the bomb shelter, where two kids play the parents, the other kids play the kids, and the family has to run to the bomb shelter within 15 seconds or whatever amount of time it is that they have where they live. Again, something that is not normal has been normalized. The rest of my trip was punctuated by sirens every single day, either nearby, close enough for us to hear, but not close enough to have to run to the shelter, or where we were going, causing us to have to pull over and wait it out, or where we had just been. The next day I was heading to Jerusalem, and I learned that my driver had been severely wounded in a previous war, and 2 of his 3 sons were now in Gaza, with the third one at age 17 getting ready to enlist. In Israel, everyone you meet has such a story. He brought me to Jerusalem, where I visited with my other cousins. My cousin Amir has 3 kids, and his wife is 9 months pregnant. Amir invited me to the trampoline park with him and his 3 kids. I did not expect to go to a trampoline park while I was in Israel. I go to far too many here with my own kids. But of course, I wanted to spend time with them, so I joined. A few things struck me there. First, the trampoline park was exactly the same as the trampoline parks here. My cousin's kids, and all the kids who were playing, are exactly the same as my kids and as your kids and all kids who love trampoline parks. Secondly, many of the patrons at the trampoline park were Arab Israelis, Muslim women with head coverings with their kids. Amir's kids played with their kids just as they would play with any other kid. I asked Amir how he felt about this, and he, in his typical low-key and straightforward fashion, shrugged and said, "Their kids want to play, my kids want to play. That's all." We went to McDonald's after, and the same mix of people were sitting side by side eating their Happy Meals. In the face of the vicious apartheid narrative, this visual and this experience was striking. The next day I went south, and I met my colleague at Kibbutz Be'eri, which was one of the hardest hit kibbutzim of October 7. And if anyone here has ever been to a kibbutz, you'll know the feeling that you get when you go there. It's intimate, it's communal, it's beautiful, it's outdoors, it's a simple, beautiful life in nature, and it's one of the best places you can raise children. But to see the violence and the destruction firsthand, to see the homes of the people I feel like I've gotten to know who were murdered or kidnapped, again, it's like a punch in the gut. My colleague and I got a tour from a man whose brother and uncle were both murdered on that day, and who himself had engaged in a battle with the terrorists. Be'eri is close to Gaza, and we heard booms and felt the ground shake under our feet from the war just a few kilometers away. That is how close it is. We saw the house of Mila Cohen, 9 months old, one of the youngest victims of October 7. She was shot while she was in her mother's arms. Her mother miraculously survived, but her father and her grandmother were murdered. 3 generations. We saw the home of Vivian Silver, a Canadian-Israeli peace activist who was burned to death. There was almost nothing left of her to identify her by. After this visit, my work trip began, which was a volunteer mission and a tour of JNF sites focused on southern Israel. I've never been to Israel in an organized trip, I've always gone either with my family, alone, or with friends, so I wasn't sure how I would feel about being with such a big, conspicuous group of Americans. No offense to anyone here. But I met the group and I loved it. There was immediate solidarity, connection, and a feeling of being with doers. The first night we heard from Ella Chaimi, whose husband Tal was murdered on October 7. She was pregnant with their fourth child, who was born in May. Tal was part of the first responder squad that every kibbutz has in case of infiltration, and he was killed fighting terrorists. Ella told us her story. She talked about Tal, and she talked about her 4 children. She talked about the battle to get Tal's body back, which is still held hostage in Gaza. Ella has so much spirit. She uses humor to cope. She has zest for life, and she has to be strong for her children. And throughout her whole talk, there wasn't 1 ounce of hatred. And in fact, I didn't hear once from a single Israeli any hatred. I just heard from people who are suffering in a war they didn't want, who just want peace, quiet, and normalcy for their children. The next day, we picked oranges from groves in the Negev. We met farmers whose crops aren't being harvested because there are almost no migrant workers in Israel right now. We picked several tons of oranges, and still we were told that we work at the 1/4 of the pace of the regular workers. The farmers also told us that when we see the headlines that a rocket from Hamas landed in an open field, that's actually not an open field. It's a farmer's field, and their lifelong work has gotten destroyed with that single rocket. Other highlights from the trip included packing care packages for soldiers, which we hand-delivered to Zikim Army Base. Zikim Beach, where people were camping, was attacked on October 7. Many were murdered, but about 30 civilians were able to run to the Army base. The base itself was attacked, and many soldiers were killed, but they ultimately prevailed. This is where we celebrated the first night of Hanukkah with candle lighting, fried food, sufganiyot, and singing and dancing. We were treated to a concert by Special in Uniform, which is a JNF-funded military band for young people with disabilities who wouldn't otherwise be able to serve in the Army. This is one example of many of how JNF serves the disabled community in Israel. Also at the Army base, I spent a lot of time talking to the soldiers. Some were younger, but most were in their 30s and 40s. They were husbands and fathers. Most just wanted to go home, but they know that if they don't report for reserves, it's their friends who get stuck for longer periods of time. Above all, they were just regular people. Not warmongers, not genocidal maniacs, just regular people who want their families to be safe. Next, we went to Re'im, which is the town where the Nova Festival took place. We went to the kibbutz, which had been attacked on October 7, to do some basic cleanup like painting and gardening. It was extra special for me because my childhood friend, Imri Bunim, lives there. I know Imri because my mom and his mom, both Dutch women who married Israeli men, befriended each other on a flight many decades ago. Imri is married and has 3 kids, and he was on the first responder squad that I previously mentioned. In some of the kibbutzim, the first responders didn't have their weapons in their homes. They were in an armory, and workers from Gaza who worked in the kibbutzim passed this intel on to the terrorists. These first responders weren't able to get to their weapons in time because the armories were targeted, and those are the kibbutzim that suffered the worst massacres. Imri and his squad was lucky and had their weapons in their homes. However, they were still completely underarmed and underprepared, and their small squad of 7 fought hundreds of terrorists, single-handedly saving the kibbutz from total massacre, although many were murdered, all of whom Imri knows. Imri told me that people always ask him why his squad was so successful, and they all assume he was in an elite unit in the army. He told me, like a true kibbutznik, that they were successful only because they knew the land and the terrorists did not. My mom and sister visited Imri in March 2024, and he walked them through, step by step, his battle on October 7. When I visited, he said he didn't want to talk about it or visit the sites, but as he gave me a tour of the kibbutz, he would unintentionally talk about it, showing me where his friend fell who was on the squad, the house of his other friend on the squad that was infiltrated while his wife and kids were inside, and the squad went on a rescue mission and saved them in the final moments where they otherwise would have been killed or kidnapped. The kibbutz is absolute paradise, but you can't escape the violence and what happened there on October 7. Imri showed me the bomb shelters. Each year, the new B'nai Mitzvah class paints a bomb shelter to match the character of the class. He talked about the many children who painted those shelters who are now dead, almost entire classes. We also visited the site of the Nova Festival and Tecuma, the site of the burned cars. We visited the Death Shelter, a shelter donated by Jewish National Fund donors in New England, where Hirsch Goldberg Poland's arm was blown off and he was kidnapped, where his friend Aner Shapira was murdered after heroically throwing out 7 grenades, and where so many other young people were killed. To see it, its smallness, you can hardly imagine the absolute terror these kids felt. And to see Nova, only when you see it, and when you see the thousands of memorials erected for those murdered there. They're placed on the exact spot where the kids were murdered. Only then can you understand the magnitude of what was done there. The trip ended with a day in Jerusalem, which is my favorite city in Israel. It's where my dad is from. It's a city where I was born. Before Jerusalem, we planted trees at a nearby forest, which is perhaps what JNF is most known for. We all planted a tree in honor of someone murdered. I carried this with me the whole trip, Chaim Peri, who was kidnapped from Kibbutz Nir Oz, and he was murdered in Hamas captivity. So my tree was planted in honor of him. Once we arrived in Jerusalem, I had delicious Iraqi food, a reminder that Jews in Israel come not only from Europe, but that more than half of them are from Arab countries. I saw my childhood friend who made Aliyah when he was 18, served in the army, married an Israeli woman, and is now full-blown Israeli. He too has been in Gaza for hundreds of days. He told me that before October 7, every reservist could say exactly the number of days he had been in reserves. Now no one knows anymore. This was once unheard of. He talked about the toll it has taken on him, his wife, and his kids, and he was about to go back in 2 weeks. He too said he couldn't leave his friends hanging. We ended at the Western Wall where we celebrated Chanukah, sang songs, and sang Hatikvah. The last song we sang was Yerushalayim Shal Zahav, Jerusalem of Gold. A stranger joined our circle with the most beautiful voice, and he sang with all his heart. As a child, every night before bed, my mom sang this song to my sisters and me. It was our lullaby. I cannot tell you how much I was crying. I could go on and on for hours, but those were some of the special people and experiences I had that I wanted to share. For me, to visit Israel in a post-October 7 world and to see firsthand all of the work that JNF is doing to help your regular, everyday Israeli, it truly touched me to my core and exceeded all of my expectations. I visited Adele Raymer from Kibbutz Nirim. Some of you may have seen her speak at the Rosens in Guilford a few months ago. And I saw the start of the rebuilding of the kibbutz playground that one of my extremely generous donors is funding. It represented resilience and seeds of hope in the midst of complete devastation. I can't wait to visit again when the playground is finished and to see all the kibbutz children playing there and to bring my own kids to play there. I urge you, and I'm looking at every single person here and anyone who's streaming, I urge you to visit Israel. I know it's not popular. I know there's fatigue. I know there are negative feelings. But I beg you, before forming judgments, as Chaviv said, to get better informed. And that perhaps most importantly includes visiting Israel. The tensions Israelis live with, living under constant security threats, the profound grief that every single person feels since October 7, the stories of resilience, parents sending their 18-year-olds to the army, knowing the risks, the stories of communities forever changed and damaged. None of these things can be fully understood from a distance. We'll do a quick plug of JNF. We offer synagogue trips. I know the rabbi just emailed about the synagogue, recommencing planning for the synagogue trip. We provide deep discounts if enough people sign up. You can also go on an individual trip. And with JNF, you will get a world-class trip of a lifetime. But even if you don't go with JNF, just go. I'll just be thrilled to hear about anyone who visits Israel. And just see it for yourself. I just want to end by mentioning the hostages. We've all seen the releases. I'm sure all of our hearts have exploded with joy seeing them return onto Israeli land, seeing them hug their families. But my heart remains broken for the rest who are still there, whose fate we don't know. We know Yarden Bibas is returning tomorrow, and he's going to find out that his wife and kids are still missing, and nobody knows what their fate is. So I hope you all join me in thinking of them constantly and raising awareness for them so that the world doesn't forget that there are still people trapped in Gaza. Thank you so much for listening. Shabbat Shalom and Am Yisrael Chai.
No, that's not easy to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karen, for sharing with us something that so clearly lives so deeply within you and is just a vital point of connection for so many of us. I hope that you will come with us on our TPT Israel trip together with your kids, because Levi needs some playmates on that trip. God willing, one day soon. Friends, we turn in our hearts to those who have departed this world, whether in recent days and years gone by. We remember them and we keep them in our hearts. We remember those of every race and nation who have given their lives in the service to others and in progress for the human family. And for those of us here tonight who are in a period of mourning, as I read the name of your loved one, I invite you to rise if you're comfortable and stay standing. At the occasion of Yortzeit, we remember Dan Rennick, Evelyn Bobby Heller, Florence Weinstein, Jerome Spiegel, Anita Brill, Elizabeth Kaiser Rim, Benjamin Katz, Irving Stieglitz, Milton Bernblum, Estelle Meyer, Dr. Charles Steinberg, Leon Menkis, Joseph Wasserman, Marietta Lee, Lucille Alderman, Harry Chakis, Arnold Fried, Beth Tenenbaum, Judith Markstein, Samuel Fliss, Arnold Alderman, Thelma Coburn. You're here to observe a yahrzeit, but I did not share the name of your loved one. I invite you to please rise if you're comfortable doing so. And for those who have lost a loved one in the past year, I invite you, if you're in the period of Shana, to please rise. I want to recognize the Wasserman family here tonight. Mark, having lost your mother this week, we know the funeral hasn't yet taken place, but we're very much thinking of you and Abigail and Ruby. I invite all of us to please rise in solidarity with our mourners. We turn to page 598 as we recite these hallowed words. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'yalma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon uv'yomechon, uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, v'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shemei Rabbah mevorach le'alam u'le'almei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudesha b'richu, La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tush bechata v'nechamata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama Rabbah min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, huya aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. May the source of peace bring harmony into our world, which so deeply needs, and bring peace to the heart of everyone who is bereaved. As together we say, Amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, uyaseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imeru amen. Everyone can have a seat, except for Sabrina Maurer, who's here to greet us on behalf of the TBT board.
for you.
Shabbat Shalom. A warm welcome to all of our guests here with us tonight. My name is Sabrina Maurer. I'm the Director of Development and Financial Planning on the Temple Board. As I read these announcements, keep in mind that details and links for these activities can be found in your shofar and shofar blast. Join Rabbi Moss tomorrow for Torah study at 9 a.m. in person. Zoom access is also available. This Sunday, families with children from birth to age 5 are encouraged to meet in the social hall at 10:30 for a new parent-child kesher group. Light bites will be served, and it's certain to be a fun experience for all in attendance. Save the date for a special service on February 7th as we celebrate Shabbat Shirah, the Sabbath of Song. We will be welcoming back our cantorial soloist, Rachel Polakar, as well as our TBT choir for this special evening. And lucky us, Rachel will be with us for Purim this year as well. A new Sunday learning series is launching in February called Livriyut, which means to our health. Each hour-long session will be presented by a TBT member who is an expert in a field related to health and wellness. The first session, Jewish Spiritual Parenting and the Blessing of the Skinned Knee, will be led on February 23rd by Ira Wise and Rachel Bloom. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you very much, Sabrina.
And Sabrina and I look forward to greeting you in the social hall immediately after the service. We'll go directly there to make Kiddush and greet one another and enjoy the rest of that pre-neg if it's still there. Sorry for those of you who were expecting to see a little squirmy baby getting a name. Unfortunately, they got sick. So we'll do the naming a little bit later and we'll see you back here then. Our closing song is Oseh Shalom. Oseh Shalom bimromav, Hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al Adonai oz le'amo yitain, Adonai varech et ama v'shalom. God, you give us strength, give us also peace. Shabbat shalom, everybody. Shabbat shalom, Mando Man.
Thank you.
Please join us for Kiddush. There will be plenty of time to schmooze in here after we break bread together with some delicious treats as well. Thank you, Luz. Thank you, Sabrina. It takes a village. Come on in, everybody. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu. B'Shabbat kodesho v'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit. Yehu yom techila lemikrai kodesh, zecher letziad Mitzrayim. Kivanu v'acharta, v'otanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim, v'shabbat kodeshecha, v'ahava uveratzon inchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh ha-Shabbat lechaim. And now, are there any pre-B'nai Mitzvah students who are jazz dancers? I don't know, any of them around here who might want to, show off a little bit? No, it's okay, I won't put you on the spot. But you can take off the challah cover and lead with me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'tei avon. That's Jewish, bon appetit. Go ahead. Whoa, happy birthday, kiddo. Double digits, how about that?